This episode is brought to you by Dime Media. Love supporting local, but looking to save? I've got the solution. Introducing the 2025 CNY Women's Network Members Card. This is your passport to exclusive year-round savings at over 35 amazing women-owned businesses across Central New York. Whether you're grabbing coffee, booking a spa day, or shopping a local boutique, using your members card means more than just discounts. You're empowering women, strengthening small businesses, and building a thriving community one purchase at a time. Want to see all the offers and partner spots? Head to cnywomensnetwork.com/members-card or click the link in our bio. And here's the best part. Join the collective by CNY Women's Network and you'll get your members card free with your annual membership. More details at cnywomensnetwork.com/membership. Let's grow together, one card, one connection, one business at a time. Welcome back to Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and today I am so excited to welcome Jeremy Walker to the show. Jeremy is the founder and creative director of Mariola, a motion graphics and VFX studio known for crafting cinematic, high-impact visuals and bring stories to life. From nonprofits and sports teams to major global brands, Jeremy leads creative projects that make a bold, lasting impression. Passionate about collaboration and innovation, he thrives on pushing creative boundaries and turning fresh ideas into unforgettable visuals. In this episode, we explore Jeremy's journey as a visual storyteller, the evolution of Mariola, and what it takes to create work that truly resonates. So, without further ado, let's welcome Jeremy to the show. Jeremy Walker, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, this conversation's already amazing. I'm excited for where we're going to go.
Great.
Tell us, what is the biggest difference you think between working for an agency and starting your own agency?
I've kind of been in love with that idea for basically like 2 or 3 years into my career at an agency. That's when that idea was kind of like incepted, and I was like, oh, that was always the
plan.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the shining like goal on the mountain.
So you've always wanted to build your own thing.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been entrepreneurial. My parents own their own business, several like that failed and succeeded and stuff like that. So it's always kind of been part of my identity, I guess, in some way. But
what kind of businesses did they own?
My mom and stepdad were landscapers. My dad had a small engine repair shop. So
nice.
Oddly, a lot of lawnmower related businesses, I guess. But,
that's cool. Okay. He was probably fixing a lot of lawnmowers already.
Yeah. My dad has he fixes like industrial shrink wrappers. That's like his job now. So any huge shipment that's like pallet wrapped, he like goes around the country and he fixes those. And then my stepdad still has a landscape company. My mom she actually works for my hometown. Like she works for the local government there. But yeah, but like growing up, it was always like my like late nights of my mom like keeping the books and weekends of like help, like I was like 12 and like mowing lawns and stuff like that. So like that
getting you involved in the family business.
Yeah, it was like because of like necessity.
It was necessity, but I love that. I think that's how I would probably raise a kid, is in the business.
Yeah. I'm kind of like reflecting on that like live here. It's I haven't really thought of that in a long time, but I think
when we're kids, we're like, ugh, like I shouldn't have to work for my family business. This is their job.
Yeah,
like,
right. No, totally.
Like I didn't choose to have a kid, right?
Yeah,
like that's what we think when our parents would ask us to do things. But now that we're adults, we're like, oh, I'm so much better off because
for sure.
That.
Yeah. For me, it was like, I want to play video games right now. I don't want to like weed whack the yard, but yeah, no, it like really, I think kind of ingrained that like work ethic. And I think once you kind of understand that like, oh, you could like make something for yourself, it opens a lot of doors where you can kind of question things, where you're like, I don't have to just stay on this like path that's kind of like maybe stereotypically laid out by like high school or college. It's like, oh, you go and you get a job and you work there for 30 years. I don't think like our society kind of operates effectively that way anymore anyway. But I think getting that idea ingrained at a young age, kind of allowed my like eye to wander in that way, where I'm like, all right, well, like, could I do this? And to bring it back to your question is like, when I started at the agency, it was a lot of it's like being a sponge of like how operationally all this works, so that
Nice. Yeah.
I could like understand like, could I do this myself? Whatever skills I do have, like, I could bring those. What skills I don't have is like, do I need to learn those, or do I need to find a partner that is like excels in that area? So you kind of um, I think it leaves, at least for me, is like I had a very curious mind about like how to kind of put the pieces together to make something work. And then life is just like, life always like throws curveballs and stuff like that. So for me, I was looking for an opportunity to. I was always like the freelance option, like starting to work for myself has always been on the table in the creative field, because
Hmm.
ultimately, if you're doing creative work, um, the end product is dependent on your skill set anyway. So it's like, all right, I can recognize myself for being able to accomplish this client's like product. Um, the business side of it, and like, how do I get more work and get consistent work? That was always the scary thing that kind of kept me like on the sidelines of like, oh no, that's too much, that's too intense. But the
I think that's probably really relatable too.
for sure. And I would just say like to that, um it's at least in my experience so far, there's a lot more opportunity than it seems like there are when you're kind of in that like fear-based mindset. And I think the curiosity for the world is what kind of, if you're operating in a place of calm and curiosity, you're able to really kind of absorb.
And attract, I
Yeah,
think those the
for sure.
opportunities that you're
Yeah.
afraid of not getting,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, like, fear kind of keeps you on the sidelines, and you're afraid to speak up about
Yeah. Keeps you
opportunities.
stuck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And people don't know. I've been saying this a lot lately, like, people don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And if they don't know you, and they don't know your abilities or your skill set or how you can help them, then like, that's probably why they're not talking to you. It's not
Yeah.
because you're not able to do what you think you can.
Yeah, that's why curiosity is so important.
Sure.
But that's also why I kind of started this podcast.
Mhm.
Was my whole idea was I was already a big consumer of podcasts, and I was in this point in my life where I needed mentors, and I didn't have many options. It was the pandemic too.
Yeah, yeah,
So where was I going to meet mentors, right?
yeah.
But in a way, thought leaders and podcasters became my mentors, and I was like, there needs to be something for women and just for you know emerging leaders in Central New York,
Mhm.
a platform where they can go and consume content like this, so they can know that it's possible for them too
Mhm.
here in Central New York,
Right.
right? Because I think, like, growing up here, there's just been this consensus of lack of opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm just a firm believer that it's only possible if you think it is.
Yeah.
And you need to be willing to, open to receiving those opportunities. So, was there like, do you remember, was there a moment while you were working at this agency that you were like, I'm going to do it?
There were a few moments like that. Um, the main thing was like, the main kind of idea that was kind of built in was like, oh, I can't do this locally. And this kind of speaks to that idea. It's like,
Mhm.
there's not a market locally for the work I want to do, like the type of work, the style of work I want to do. I need to move to New York, LA. There was a minute where like my wife and I were really considering LA. Um, and it was like, her family's from here. I'm from downstate a little more, but this is like, I've lived in Syracuse longer than my hometown at this point. So it's like, this is my new hometown.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like, we don't want to leave here. We love Central New York, but this opportunity doesn't exist in Central New York. That was that like fear-based mindset to it.
Yeah.
So there were a few moments where I was like, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to have to move to do it. I think the next touch point that kind of comes to mind is my boss at the time left for another opportunity, and it was actually the partners at the company like called it a battlefield promotion, whereas like he's he's down, get in there. And so they're like, do you want this job? And I was like, yeah, I could do it. So like then I became the manager of the department. And that was another thing where I was like, I don't want we talked about like managing and stuff like that. Like I didn't want to do it at all. I was like, no, I want to get more proficient at my like technical skill set, like the
Yeah.
craft of it. I don't want to manage the team. The team was like super small too, so it was not as like daunting as it like looking back on it. I was like, yeah, it was like three of us. Like it's easy, like relative to like other opportunities, it's pretty easy to manage three people compared to like 20 or something. Um, but in that moment, I was like, all right, well, what can I take? Like, I don't want to manage, but what I can take from this is um, this will be like the training wheels, like skill set for managing my own team in the future, or like my own company, whatever, like whatever structure that Mariola becomes, like that's like this is where I'll get like some actual real world experience. So that was another like touch point where it was like, yes, I want to do this for myself even more now. Um, but I'll take advantage of the opportunity that's presented and like squeeze as much out of this as I
Yeah,
can.
that's a great mindset.
Yeah,
I always like I've been kind of a founder, a business owner since for my entire adult life. And the one thing that I wish I had was some more experience working for the type of company that
sure.
I want to build.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I don't know how they operate
right.
or increase revenue and stuff. So I think that that's really smart for you to kind of stick it out and wait for the right moment.
I think that, yeah, thank you. I think that I feel like that came from my parents, like that kind of like I'm a I think an elder millennial. I'm 30, I'm gonna be 37 soon. Um and I'm in this like weird place where like the advice and like the parenting I received coming up was like somewhere between like brush yourself off and like it was like that hard nose like
Yeah.
older era of like parenting and like a mix of like what do you want to be? You could be whatever. So it's like there's a mix of it in there. I remember like when I was a kid, I played the trombone, which was like the coolest instrument possible, and I hated it. And my mom was like, well, you don't have to play it anymore, but you have to finish out like this. I don't know if it was a semester or whatever it would have been in like the school structure, but she's like, you have to finish it out because you committed to it for now. But if you don't want to like do it when like signups happen again, like you don't have to. And I think that's kind of stuck and kind of in my mind works in that situation too, where it's like I've committed to taking on this responsibility. I don't have to like renew my contract in a way, like not that I had a contract, but it's like I don't have to do this permanently is more the takeaway from it. Is like I can stick it out for a little bit longer and look for like I'm a glass half full kind of person. So I'm like, all right, well, what can I take from this that is not horrible? Because like suddenly like being responsible for everyone else's deadline, and then it's like, this person has a wedding and they're going to be gone for 2 weeks. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll have to do that project while they're gone. Like those were
Yeah.
like the day to day kind of like nightmares and
Yeah.
fires that needed to be put out. That yeah, I really didn't like, but it was like, well, what can I benefit and glean from this? And I
Did
think,
it I mean, what I've noticed in myself is because of all these now responsibilities, it's like required me to become just that much more dialed in and
yeah,
disciplined and grounded.
yeah,
Because I err on the side of creative artist. I like to go with the flow and listen to my intuition and live life on my terms.
yeah,
But it's a whole other ballgame when you're leading other people. You don't really get to do that.
yeah. I no, I think that it helped me like where it touched me like on the creative like sphere. It helped me. There's like a saying. It's not perfect, it's done. And it's
Mhm.
like that period of my career helped with that so much where I'm like, this is like, I'm okay with this being good enough because we have 10 other things that need to get done. And I think the counterbalance to that is like you have to make sure your standard for good enough is still better than like the competition. And you don't want like, yeah, it's fine. Like and just
Yeah, that's a
whatever,
good
just kick it
point.
out. It's like You still want it to be really good. If your standard is at that level where your good enough is still better than everyone else's, or at least in your heart of hearts you believe that, then I think that it helps to like sharpen that kind of tool where you're like you can look at creative things as from more of a business mindset where you're like this, we can't spend more time on this because like budget doesn't allow. So let's like package it up. It's good in this state. We'll spend more resources on making the next one like close. We're always like chasing perfection.
Hmm.
So it's like the next one will get that much closer to perfect. But yeah, so it helped with that kind of ability to like triage creativity and like triage like your resources and
And
just say
priorities, right?
exactly.
Yeah, but that's a huge, huge skill to learn, especially when budget is at stake. And
Right, right.
there's so many other facets that you have to manage outside of creating something incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's what helps to kind of get more of a balance between like creator and or creative and like a business, someone who's running a business is being able to like know when to pick your battles, as far as like no, like we really need to spend way more resources on making this like as impactful as possible, like creatively, visually, and then when you can like say like no, we like this one is going to keep the lights on and pay the bills, and
Yeah.
know that like you can separate like for a while it was like the my creative output is like a reflection of my creative ability, and you get like this weird like ego thing like ties like a knot in that. And when you're able to kind of separate that out and you're like, well, this is my job, and at that time it's like this isn't my company, this is what they want for the business, is like they want us to, this one's going to go quick because it keeps the lights on, and I don't have to be so, my identity doesn't have to be so tied to the creative, like to how this looks at the end. And when you're able to kind of separate those things and kind of untangle that like your ego from it,
Yeah.
you're able to say like okay, like you're able to recognize it, you like see the matrix and you're like, oh, this one will help me,
Yeah.
like kick
Kind of
our,
like
yeah.
pull away and have that aerial view of it
Yes,
rather
yeah.
than just getting so in a way kind of emotionally attached
Yes,
to the product.
for sure. And no one kind of walks you through that. And I think that like my experience
I
with
think it's
other,
discernment is what we're
yeah,
describing because
yeah.
I think as business people, the most important thing we can hone is our discernment. And
Hmm.
that shows up in a lot of different ways, but having the discernment to uh, be aware and mindful enough to kind of pull back from a project because there are other things on the line. You have bigger fish to fry instead of just like becoming as a creative. It's hard to not become obsessed with the
Yeah,
final product. That's your thing, right? You're an artist.
yeah,
But having the discernment to know what's important, what's best for the
yeah,
business, while also maintaining, integrity in your work and producing a really something you're very proud of. It's literally the dance
yeah,
that we're
for
all
sure.
playing, especially as creative business owners,
Yes,
right?
for sure. And I think that's continuing to book work and continuing to like bring in clients, or especially is like getting rich, the ultimate goal for me is like to work with the brands and studios and stuff that I want to work with, and then have them continue to come back to me and say like, hey, we want to work with you again. And I found like, yeah, that discernment is like, it allows you to remove the, I think, the stereotypes that creatives have of like being hard to work with, because they're so locked on their idea. And I think that the what continually gets me work is like I'm very easy to work with. And I think what that means in practice is it's like when someone's like, hey, I'm sorry, but we have to change this. It's a lot. My experience is a lot of creatives are like, oh my God, the client doesn't know anything, or um, no, it's good. They shouldn't like, I've been able to just say like, okay, like I could recognize like when it is something where it's like, well, here's why I don't think we should change it, but it's still ultimately your call on if we change it, versus like just putting your foot down and saying like, no, I'm not going to change it. It's not
Yeah.
like, and I think that being able to remove that from your interaction with your client or your collaborators is what helps like ultimately in practice translated to like being easy to work with.
I think that's a really important point because in a way your job is to provide a solution and to for people to be able to outsource a certain role or
Mhm.
task to you, right? And so you need to, in a way, to be this like beacon of hope for this company
Yeah.
or this business owner that's investing in you, right, to do this job. And I think that when you understand that exchange, yes, you are an artist. Yes, you should stay true to yourself and make sure that your work aligns with your values. But you're there to show up and do a job.
Mhm.
So being easy to work with is actually probably one of the most important things you can do as an agency owner or
Yeah.
as a freelancer.
That's a big takeaway I had as a manager at an agency was like when we did have to hire vendors to help with stuff, it wasn't like in my fields, like I could look at their portfolio and know like, okay, they can technically do this. So then ultimately I have three people that can all technically do it. All their like visuals look great. What's going to determine who I hire out of, like, I can only hire one. It's like, who gives me the most peace of mind knowing that like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. It's like their communication is at a point where it's like they're checking in with me, they're giving me updates,
You don't
they're
have to
making my
drive the relationship.
exactly, they're
Yeah.
making my job as easy as possible. And then that's translated to like running my own business is like, over communicating. Like ultimately it's like
It,
I know I'm getting assessed on like technical ability, and they're like, okay, yeah, he could do it technically. So then what I can provide to like differentiate myself from the next studio that's going to do it is, yeah, like it's a one
customer
stop. Exactly. It's
service.
customer service at the
Yes.
end of the day. And like as creatives, we don't like all these like sales ideas are so like scary
Yeah.
to
Well, that's the thing. I was actually talking about this a couple weeks ago with someone. I was like, it's 2025. It's going to be really hard to have an original idea,
Mhm.
right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of us are reinventing the wheel in a lot of ways when we're starting businesses. And so, what can we do to differentiate ourselves or be competitive? We can be the most pleasant people to work with. We can over communicate and just really excel in that, the customer experience of it all.
Mhm.
So, I hear that, especially lately as we're still
Yeah.
ironing out all of our processes. Make your last adventure of the summer Camp Collective, happening September 11th through the 14th in the Adirondacks. This 3-night all inclusive women's leadership retreat takes place at the historic Great Camp Sagamore on Racket Lake. You'll spend the weekend in transformative leadership and personal growth workshops, enjoy classic camp activities like sunrise paddles and fireside conversations, and build deep, lifelong connections, all in a peaceful lakeside setting that invites you to slow down and show up fully. There are only a few spots left for the full retreat, so if it's calling to you, now's the time to register. We also have a day retreat option available. If you want to learn more or register, you can visit cnywomensnetwork.com/events to sign up and save when you register with a friend. We've got a couple ticket bundles available. You are not going to want to miss this. This is our first retreat ever, and we're so excited. If you can't commit to the full weekend, that's all right. You can join us for Community Day on Friday, September 12th. This is a one-day experience for the CNY Women's Network with all of the workshops, lunch, and other activities we have planned. You can get your ticket at cnywomensnetwork.com/events. Camp Collective is being hosted by The Collective by CNY Women's Network, which is our official membership community. You do not have to be a member to join Camp Collective. However, you should know that The Collective is a membership community for women in Central New York, and you get access to exclusive events, early registration, and a supportive network of growth minded women. If you want to learn more or become a member, you can head to cnywomensnetwork.com/membership, and hopefully, I'll see you at Camp Collective. All right, back to the show.
It turns out I'm like more of a mantra person than I thought. That
You're
I have
realizing
something.
this
Yeah, I'm
now.
realizing it now in this conversation. But I have something on my desk that says "People buy people, then they buy things,"
Hmm.
and that's whenever I talk to like young creatives and they're like, "Well, how do you keep getting work?" It's like like just be
Just
just
be,
be like it's all the soft skills. It's like
yeah.
just be kind and like all the things they teach you in grade school. Like
It's not that
yeah, no,
complicated.
it's not. And it just feels scary and weird because I think from the creative's perspective, stereotypically, it's like that is sales and business and we like to make art and make cool things, and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
in a way, like what I've found from working with a lot of creatives, and I wonder if you've noticed this too, is like there's a almost like some sort of guilt around selling. Like
yeah, for sure.
selling themselves or their services.
Yeah.
They almost feel like they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Like they almost get like this like pass to like I just have to be an amazing artist. And honestly, I can understand this coming being, I used to be a makeup artist. So, but like, and eventually, I think it has something to do with the market I was in. Eventually, 2, 3 years into my business, I didn't have to market
Yeah.
myself or sell anything. It was all word of mouth.
Mhm.
But like, there needs to be I think that when you're approaching sales and marketing in this way of like, it has to be so strategic and so calculated, and I need to read every book and understand consumer psychology and all that stuff. But for the most part, you actually don't need to manipulate people into buying your product. You just have
No.
to be a good person.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, nepotism is alive and well, and like a lot of opportunity are just like, oh no, I know a guy that does this, and like that's how they. Oh, okay, I'll take the recommendation based on. So like word of mouth is huge for
Yeah.
sure. It all kind of, you just build like momentum, and it all kind of snowballs. Like it's
Yeah.
um
Naturally.
yeah, and like that's, and like when you take a bigger step away from it and you look at it from a wider lens, it's like what we're talking about is networking, and like as a like creative is, it's like wow, it feels
Yeah.
very
They
like,
don't like labels. Like
yeah,
we don't like labels.
right. I will push back on the people who feel like they don't have to market themselves. My experience is more like we all suffer from imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and like the people that I know, I would say the majority of creatives that I work with and know, I'm like, you are really good at your job. You're very technically good at this. And
Mhm.
they don't know that. Like they don't allow themselves to believe. So I feel like the marketing comes from like, or the lack of marketing
Yeah.
comes from like a place of like, not like, maybe as a defense mechanism. It's like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to market because I'm really good
I
at my
totally
job.
and I feel like that's so true though,
Yeah. And but
because
it's,
I've been in that position where I was resistant to selling myself, but if you really dive deeper
yeah,
and ponder why is that? Do you actually like not believe in sales or
right.
marketing, or do you feel like you might not be worthy of being successful, right?
This has been my experience where it's like, especially trying to like represent my company more.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, I'm like, I think over modest in conversation where like, yeah, yeah, it's like I don't even want to like talk
Yeah.
about what I do because it feels like, um,
Well,
yeah,
that's
like,
not why you do it either.
right, right. But it's, yeah, that the, I recognize and can diagnose it as like imposter syndrome, but it's like, it's hard to kind of break that pattern where you're like, where you do, like, to me, it just feels like corny and weird to like, oh, I've done this and that.
I
Uh,
hear that, trust me. I
yeah,
hear it, like, cause I have to be so like, I am very visible, and I'm
yeah,
always out, and most people probably think, like, I love it and see
yeah,
nothing
no,
wrong,
yeah,
but for me, it's like, it does feel corny, it does feel cringy, but I have to always shift my mindset when that creeps up, that
yeah,
imposter syndrome, because it's like, it really depends on why you're doing it, why you're showing up. So
right,
I have to just remind myself, I'm doing this for all the women in Central New York.
yeah,
Like I am not, building I'm not the face of this brand because I want to be the center of attention. I'm
mhm,
the face of this brand because I need to be in order to do
yeah,
what I want to do and build what I want to
yeah.
build for the women of Central New York, you know?
That's a great point because it's like, I think it's like ultimately what, you know, at those points in my career where I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I need to, and like,
Mhm.
like having the discipline to like, just like that old parenting style, or like just dust yourself off and like grin and bear it. It's like I have always done that for, you know, like to provide for my family, or to knowing that like if I become more proficient at something, it'll allow me like the freedom and opportunity as a business owner to pick and choose like the creative projects I want. And I don't have to like mentally, creatively like suffer
Yeah.
on these like, oh, I don't really like, I like there, you know, there were years where it's like, I don't want to work on this project or this one or this one or this one.
Mhm.
And now it's like, well, if I just like put in the work, then you can like reap the benefits later by being able to pick and choose and having like more freedom of movement and stuff like that. And so I think like just that consistency, consistency is like such a good thing in general in life, I think, and especially so with like business stuff. So
Yeah, but paying your dues and
yeah,
that is always I think the goal, and that's why a lot of us start our own businesses is so we get to have that choice to
yeah,
decide who we work with and, just the environment of it all and what we want to create.
yes, for sure.
So tell me a little bit more about Mariola. I mean, what kind of brands are you working with? Who are you working with right now? Like,
Yeah.
tell us more about that and kind of what you guys do.
In honor of this conversation, I'll try my best to like to big up myself. But so we're a motion design, animation, and VFX studio, and most of the time I say that, and people are like, "What is that?" So
Yep.
I think like motion design is like think graphic design, but then move it.
Mhm.
So any commercials, any like anything that moves especially in like the commercial space is like has been motion designed to some degree. So basically what we do is like we work on motion graphics, 2D and 3D animation. VFX is different than special effects. Special effects is like somebody gets like shot and blood squirts out like while they're filming it. VFX would be like someone pretends they got shot and then you put like digital like blood or something like that. So the VFX that we do primarily is cleanup for like if there's like people are strung up like you'd erase like the wire out.
Okay.
Is that's like cleanup. The cleanup that we're doing is more like um oh, we can't, this brand didn't get cleared. And now we have Nike logo and all these shots that didn't get cleared. So we have to clean that out. Or it'll be designing like a UI animation and then bringing it into a live action plate. So it's like, um, I think like the easiest example to think of is like somebody's on their cell phone and then you see like what they're texting or whatever. Like generally that phone is off
Yep.
or it's like a blank screen and then you control like what goes on it later. That's like what we do.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then some of the like more fun, I think like VFX type projects are like enhancing something with like 3D design. So like I'm working on a project now for Beacon Skiff and 1911. It ends with a the whole party turns into an apple orchard. So like in the background, we filmed it with a drone. So like we had this huge big field, and now with VFX, we're gonna like, pop in all these like trees and make them look like they actually existed there. And so that's the hardest or the most important part of my job is like making it look like we actually filmed it and not like, oh, that's a cartoon or something like that. So brands wise, we're working with I work with a bunch of studios that I've been very fortunate to like build a relationship with because they kind of bring in like the heavy hitters, and then I get to they hire us to basically as a white label to go in and do the work, and then but that's like the brands that we've been afforded to work with are like Nike, Oakley. We did a Super Bowl ad for Google this year, which was like huge. Um,
That's crazy.
Samsung. I'm trying to think like the big ones. The ones that I'm the most excited for. I'm working with Meat Canyon, who's like a huge YouTuber, and it's like he's an animator that's very like Ren and Stimpy, and he's got a huge audience, and like all the work he does is like super fun. So that's my like not a lot like if you know kind of feather in my cap, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, so you said you work with people that bring in heavy hitters, but like, I mean, it sounds like you've been able to work with incredible brands, and I'm sure you play a role in that too. So,
sure, sure.
what is your advice in terms of being able to work with brands like that? Are you pitching yourself? How are you standing out from the rest?
Like fortunately at this stage it's just been like it's that idea of consistency. It's like showing up for um literally it's like literally showing up for dog food commercials like presents you the opportunities to show up for like a Super Bowl brand
Yeah.
deal. So it's like being that problem solver for your clients and being the person that they could depend on, and being the team that they can depend on. That's I think what has presented us with the opportunities to work with like huge brands, because it's like, well, Mariola's here for all these, hey, like we need this thing it's Tuesday, we need it Thursday. Like, are you guys able to do this? Yeah, we'll knock it out with a smile, and we're here to just help you. Like those that gets you in the room for these like bigger opportunities. I think right now we're at the stage where we're starting to transition to more outgo like we're like cold pitching brands, and that's where like spec work comes in, where we're creating work that is like the work we want to be hired for. Because a lot of like going back to what we talked about earlier is like there is some degree of like technical showcase where anyone who's going to hire you needs to know that you can do it. um and for the brands that we want to be working with, it's like we're doing spec work now that is a reflection of like a Nike, like to use them as an example. It's like, say we really want to do a Nike running commercial. Well, we're doing those commercials now without getting paid, with the full creative control of it, because
Mhm.
ultimately like we're the client. But that allows like in a future pitch for Nike to envision like, oh, if we, or like say it's a Adidas or something like that, they could look at the Nike spec we did and say like, oh, I can envision us executing something similar. And that's how you kind of
Cool. So,
set yourself up for future.
yeah,
Yeah.
in a way, you can kind of like repurpose the work to kind of pitch yourself to paralleling brands in
Yeah.
similar industries.
Yeah. There's a company that I just worked with recently, and I talked to their owner and I was like, how did you guys like, cause they're like a plucky upstart kind of
Okay.
post house. And I'm like, how did you guys get like these clients? And it was a project for, it wasn't for Brooks. It was for, um, whatever. It was a project. It was for like a running company. And actually, I think it was Brooks, but whatever. They what they did was, instead of going to Brooks Running and saying like, "Hey, we could do these commercials for you," they um, went to the athletes that were sponsored by Brooks, and they were like, "Hey," and so it was like
Mm.
they pitched the athletes almost as like content creators, and then they were making like mini docs for them for their social media and like their training for the Boston Marathon or something like that. And so then they're like working on no budget or a smaller budget for like somebody like an athlete who's just sponsored, but then they take two or three of those and then they go to Brooks and they say, hey, look, we're already working with your athletes, so it's like a natural like
Mm.
transition for us to just like, like we know them, so we could do this project for you and they could
Yeah.
star in it or whatever. And
You need
like,
to like I've been doing more and more research around pitching.
yeah,
And it truly is like you need to make it so easy for them to work with you.
yes,
You have
yeah,
to be like, "Listen, I've already solved this
yep,
problem. Here's the proof that I can do the job." Basically, all you have to do is pay the invoice and I'll take care of the rest.
right. Well, you have to
So,
make them an offer they can't refuse, where it's just
exactly.
like, it's like,
And if you're doing things like if they have to chase around your work or
yeah,
like look into you in any way, if they're not confident after reading your pitch that you would be a great person to do the job,
mhm,
then you're not going to get a
yes,
response even half the time,
right.
especially the bigger the brand you're pitching.
Right. Well, like I think from my agency experience and like seeing how like whoever's going to make the ultimate decision on hiring you for a job, they have a boss that they have to please.
Mhm.
And conversely, they have a boss that they don't want to upset. So yes, making yourself like this is like as foolproof a plan as possible, it's going to just make that like your goal is to make them look great to their boss. Cause if you can make them look great to their boss, then it's like, why wouldn't, yeah, of
Yeah,
course I would
that
do
makes
that.
a lot
Like
of
that's
sense.
so it's like kind of, if you could think like up and down the pipeline of like how your influence will ripple through in both directions. I think that's how you can position yourself to like win pitches and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think like where we're at now is we're at that stage where, um, we're thinking we have like the foundation set up. We have work coming in that's keeping the lights on. Fortunately, a lot of that work that's keeping the lights on is also very creatively fulfilling. But it's like looking at like what is the next step for the company, and that's like, okay, what can we do? Where can we invest our time now? This summer, like the taking time off to invest and learn skills and produce like spec projects that are going to set us up for like being able to say no to the dog food commercials and yes to just the weird high concept like sci-fi spec or whatever,
I
like
hear that.
just
I'm in that era now. It's like truly takes so much planning ahead and so much intention and so much strategy to do that.
Yeah.
But it is important because that's why we're doing this, is so we can, hopefully get to the level and to the place where we're only working with people that we want to work with, because
Right.
that's just the most fulfilling thing for any of us to do, whether
Yes.
you're a creative or not,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. It's like I want to get paid the most money for the most fun thing as long as possible. It's like the goal, you know?
So you're taking off, well, not taking off, but you are time blocking some time right now to work on the business.
Mhm.
But just throughout the year when you're in the thick of it, especially in the winter arc,
Sure,
how
sure.
do you avoid burnout as a creative?
Um, man, I mean, that's, I wish I had if I had the answer to that, it would be like, I wouldn't have to work probably. It would be like everyone would pay me for my knowledge on that. I think my best practices on that is identifying when to unplug. And, um, generally it's like when I'm feeling the most burned out traditionally, it's been the time where I'm like, well, if I stop now, this will all fall apart. Like everything will crumble if I stop. And it's not the case. Taking vacation as like a business owner was the scariest idea, because when you work for somebody else, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gone this week and I get paid for it and it's great. And like as a business owner, you're like, well, if I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. So part of that is like eliminating that problem. It's like, how do I set up like systems in my business where I don't have to be there to still earn a living? Um, so it's like, whether it's like building different revenue streams, or um, building systems where the team can like run things like in your absence. But yeah, I think it's been the experience of now taking vacations and seeing like, when you're on vacation, you're getting emails of like, hey, are you available at this? It's like, oh, okay. They still, just because I'm away from my office for 2 weeks doesn't mean I'm like, I'm erased from everyone's memory. I guess to put a little like ribbon on it, it's like trusting yourself and trusting your experience, abilities, trusting the relationships you've built, to know that like it's okay to unplug when you're feeling burned out, and it's
Mhm.
okay to just like take your foot off the gas. Like you can put your foot back on the gas when you're ready and you're recharged,
Yeah.
and it's not going to go away just because you're just one person in an
Yeah.
ocean of this.
One of the things that I try to remind myself is that it's not that deep.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah.
like sometimes I have to humble myself and be like, Alex, you are not saving lives.
Right,
All right, get
right.
off your high horse. Everything will be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
But I think just as a business owner, the to-do list is never ending. There's always something you could be
for sure.
working on.
Right.
And one of the most God bless him, I love him to pieces, but my fiance, one of the most like things that drive me crazy that he says is like, "Did you get everything done today that you needed to?" And it's
Yeah.
never a
No.
yes.
Yeah.
Like not I don't think not one time has it ever been a
Right,
yes.
right.
I believe there's been a couple times where I've said yes because I just wanted to stop talking about it, but it's I just feel like that's just like the, you know, epitome of what it means to
Yeah,
be a business
for
owner.
sure.
And so, taking, being able to check in on yourself, take the temperature and, notice the burnout before it actually officially happens
Yeah,
is huge for
for
me.
sure. I agree, and I think it's like, if your foundation is set up on like consistency, knowing that like you're taking,
Yeah.
um, I'm laughing at myself because I'm thinking of another
Maybe
like mantra,
yeah, it's
is like, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And it's
yeah.
like knowing like, okay, you don't have to do all of this today, but even if you do a little bit, it's better than not doing anything at all. So, knowing like, or if you have that as your foundation, I think that helps with burnout, because you're like, okay, I did this very simple task today. I'm done. I need to like, I need a mental health day, whatever. Um, but I did do that little task. So I did do something.
Mhm.
So I think that helps with
Taking
like,
stock of that. Yeah.
yeah, and like give like right. And
Give yourself
like
some credit.
give,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, give yourself some
It's like,
grace of
okay,
like, you
I
did
probably
this.
did accomplish a lot of things
Right.
today, and I'm probably just stressed out because maybe I accomplished things that were not top of the priority
Yeah.
list. So I could go on and on about this. I'll tell you that. But what about like, are there any dream brands that you have not worked with that you have on your radar right now?
Yeah, I think right now it would be Love, Death, and Robots, which
Okay.
is a series on Netflix. They're short stories, usually 3D or CG animated. Um, and yeah, I mean, like at heart, I've always been like a filmmaker. I think
I was gonna
that
ask, do you wanna work with more film and entertainment
yeah, for sure. I think
over
that's always been the
commercial?
goal. That's always been the goal. And yeah, in high school, that like we would do. I was in honors English all through high school, and what that meant, besides regular English, is like reading more books that I didn't want to read, and also like we had a full year of English rather than like a half a year. And at the end of the year, we would have like a big project, and it was always like this daunting thing. And my friend and I would always we would always do a video, and it was like on like a camcorder, like before like YouTube,
Yeah.
like way before YouTube. So it was like the idea of like doing a video was very very novel
Mhm.
and exciting. And what we would do, like what this format that we would do year to year is like we would do like an award show for all the books we read all year. And so we would like,
Okay.
like at the Oscars, they would present like the best picture or whatever, and they'd show like a little like vignette from the movie or like the most important scene from the movie. We would do that, and it was like we would take like 10 books that we read all year, and we would shoot like a little vignette of like a scene from it. But then we also did like a parody of that. So like I remember we like read like The Outsiders, and we made it like very like I think we like one of us was like Steven Seagal. Like it was like very hilarious to a ninth grader, you know? But we would do those like these, and that's kind of where I like fell in love with like this idea of like filmmaking. And um so yeah, I've always wanted to, like, I pivoted a lot in college about what I wanted to do professionally. And when I landed on media production, it was after realizing like I went for criminology because I wanted to be in the FBI. And then for the longest time I wanted to be a professional wrestler.
Oh, wow,
And
your dreams have
well, I
really
realized I'm like I just wanted,
all over the board
yeah,
here.
but I was like I wanted to be a FBI agent because I liked the X-Files and Twin
Mm.
Peaks and stuff. It was like it had nothing to do with
Yeah, so
like
you were very inspired by film and
yes, yeah.
yeah.
And like when you look at it, I'm like, I don't want to do that at all. And so it was like, I remember in college when I was like, I want to do media production. I thought my parents would be like this, like, oh, what's your backup plan going to be? And it was very much not that, which was awesome. And I really appreciate that they were like, yeah, cool, go for it. Like, um, yeah, so it's always kind of been ingrained there, like, or that's kind of a through line for who I've always wanted to be. I think in the advertising world, like I've always kind of looked at these as like mini movies, and you
Mhm.
have like so my work has always I've always been very drawn to like a story based approach to work. And there's a lot of money to be made on just like rinse and repeat, like um there's a sale this month down at our store, and like here's the deal, and here's the rate you could
Yeah.
get. Like there's a lot of work to be done with that kind of work. And it's I think why I've always kind of rejected it creatively is because like no, I want to like tell a story and do something that is more in line with like a short story or a film or something like that. And so I think as a brand, like Love, Death, and Robots is just short stories just executed at like an exceptionally high level. So that's currently when I think of like what brand would I want to work with, it's that. And I think ultimately what that tells me about myself is like, no, I just want to like be a filmmaker still. And
Mhm.
so that's where I'm at now.
Well, I mean, you've got all the time in the world, like,
Yeah.
you've got your whole life ahead of you, so who's to say you can't achieve
Sure.
that? I
Yeah.
have no doubt that you can.
Well,
I
thank you.
think now it's a matter of, like, okay, how do I get in there um, and I think connect with the right people,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So is it produced by Netflix?
Yeah, I think they produce it. Tim Miller is a director who he's like Tim Miller and David Fincher are like the creators of the show. And basically what they do is they, a few years ahead, because the productions on these take a long time being CG. Um, they'll come up with like, all right, this collection will be like 8 short stories. They come up with what stories they want, and then they'll find studios or hire studios to do these stories. So and then they're looking at studios based on their like the needs of the story, what's going to serve the story the best for, whether it's like what is the highest impact for this story. It's an action heavy. Well, Blur Studio is really good at this, or
Mm,
it's
okay.
like we want like a watercolor, like hand painted feel. Titmouse is really good at this, so we'll hire them to do that because they work with like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, stuff like that. So they're creating the overall vision for the show, but then they're kind of hiring out these studios to execute their vision. So it's like a diluted like vision at that point, I guess. But
What would you
um,
say you guys are known for at Mariola?
right now I think it's like we're making high impact visuals for like the advertising agencies, for like product videos,
Mhm.
for enhancing like live action documentary style like sports like sports mini docs. Like I feel like those are very popular amongst like lifestyle brands now, of like putting you at like, oh, you're a runner, it's like this like building a story that looks like that.
Yep.
We're known for like taking that to like putting another level of polish on that, and um, melding those two worlds. We just did something for Liquid IV, and it was like this very fun spot where they're in a lab, and it's like the scientist is talking to you directly, but it was like very like I would say like very like Nickelodeon, like for adults, like those old like or an old like Gushers commercial where it's
Yeah.
like very like fun, like wide angles and like tongue in cheek, and then they like zoom into the solution, and like we did the all the salt and sodium molecules like in the centrifuge and stuff like that. So like we made like CG to enhance this overall story they're telling. That's what we're known for now. I think where like the creative block that we're taking right now is to actually learn the software and practice the software that would be necessary for like a Love, Death, and Robots. So
Mhm.
we want to be known for that. And what's inspiring about like Tim Miller, for example, is like he's from the VFX world and from the advertising world, and he actually worked on like I was watching an interview with him just this weekend, and he worked on Clippy on Microsoft. If you ever remember that, that's probably before your time. It was like,
I don't
in
know if
like
I do.
Microsoft Word. It was like this, like a lot of people will remember this. It was like this annoying little help bubble that was in the corner, and it's like now he's doing like he worked on like Deadpool. He's a producer on um, a lot of like big movies like that you would like big blockbuster movies now. But like I guess my point is like the seeing someone with a path like that, they came from like the advertising world, and to roughly quote him, he was like, yeah, we just want to make like fun stuff and cool stuff. And so they were saying yes to everything. And so I could see myself, I could see my company in that, like that spirit within us too, where it's like, yeah, no, we'll, again, I keep going to this because currently working on a dog food commercial. It's like, yeah, I don't begrudge a dog food commercial at all. And what we're doing with it is fun, like in that category. It's like probably
The
I
most
think it's the
fun you can
coolest we
make
can
it.
make it,
Yeah,
and
that's fun. I
but
like
it's like those are the you take a little from this and a little from that, and like that's what gets you to that eventual like shining like mountain that you're
yeah,
trying to reach.
they're all building blocks.
Exactly. And it's nice to see other creatives along the way that are not like a Tarantino, where it's like fired from a gun immediately for like consistently through like a whole career. But it's much more realistic that people are like, oh no, I used to work. I mean, actually, even Tarantino is like, I used to work in a video store. Like it had nothing
Yeah,
to do
there's
with what
always
I'm
a
doing now.
start
Right.
that's like you would have never expect how far they come.
Exactly. I think that when we're younger and just jumping into whatever career we're in, there's like everyone's got this like sprint mentality, and like I was guilty of it. And once you start to look at life, you get older and wiser, and life is more of a marathon in general, not just in your career or your field. Um, that's when it's like I think it's much easier to give yourself grace and say like, yeah, like I'll get there, or I'll
Yeah.
figure it out, and we'll work our way there, instead of just like, oh no, we need to jump in both barrels right now and like knock it out of
Just
the park. Yeah.
dive in head. That's so funny because that really resonates with me. I feel like I started the CNY Women's Network 2 years ago. Exactly. And the last 2 years have been a total sprint, man.
Yeah,
It's been a whirlwind, but now I'm like, I'm getting tired of sprinting, but
sure.
I also realize that, like, we're working really, really hard, but we might not be prioritizing the right things,
Mhm.
and we might not be working on the things that actually matter, right?
Yeah.
So, um, that definitely resonates with me
Well,
as a young, like, just I'm just getting started, like, very still new to this, but it nobody
yeah.
talks about the 10, 15, 20 years it takes some of these people that we look up to build up to that point. We
Right.
just see their
Well, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
exactly.
Another mantra. But like, yeah, I also think sprinting is like super important. And I think that
It can be
talks to your
very
burnout is, or the idea of burnout is like, I think it's really important to recognize when it's time to sprint and then when it's time to slow down. And I guess like I'm not a runner. I've been trying to become a runner for a long time. Um, so I can't speak from experience on like an actual marathon, but I imagine there's like some parts of it where you're like, yes, I'm going to pick up the pace here. And then there's some parts where you're like, okay, I'll slow down, like recharge a little bit. And so like on any, if you take it, if you zoom out on the scale of things, like it's all kind of a marathon. It's okay to sprint and it's okay to slow down. And it's like, I think recognizing the balance and knowing yourself and figuring out what works best for you is what helps you kind of figure out like that sweet spot where you're like peaking at the perfect moment. I think of like fighters, like the UFC is like coaching has evolved in like ultimate fighting in mixed martial arts to a point where like they can plan a training camp so that they're peaking, physically peaking at the fight.
mhm.
So they're not like they haven't burned themselves out in training and then they're like get smoked in the fight because they're like too tired, they overtrained. So I think it's like you could kind of apply that to your business in a way of like as you start to understand what works best for you, you could figure out like when is the perfect time to like plan like a big event or whatever. It's like, oh, I'll plan it right around March, like you're doing, because I know that I can like grind this out through the winter. And then after it's over, I'll be able to like chill out and like recharge through the summer. So I think
Yeah.
like all that can be applied to like life and business in a lot of ways.
Thank you for saying that too, because all we can do is acknowledge that and own it and trust ourselves. I think
Yeah.
trust has a lot to do with it when it comes to being able to understand that.
Yeah.
Because as high performers, as business owners that only get paid when they show up,
Mhm.
right? It's easy to let the guilt and or like this I would say the guilt consume you when you're slowing down, but not really. I think it's this like this uneasy feeling like
Yeah.
something must be wrong because I'm
Yeah.
taking a pause or I
Right.
am slowing down and whoa, I'm not used to going this slow. We've gone this speed for
Yeah.
so long. And so it's hard to not feel like something's off, something's not right, or like something bad is going to
Yeah,
happen,
for sure.
right? It's like this paranoia.
I Yeah, that resonates a ton because every time I like go to take vacation or go to take some time off, my wife has to like mentally prepare for me to like come up with some problem that I'm like obsessed about. I'm like, um, yeah, I think like told you off camera, like I'm dealing with this like stiff neck, and I'm like, what if it's like something really bad, and I should get a scan, and and it's like it just like book some work and you'll be fine. So like I totally get that where I'm just like something's wrong, and I my therapist is amazing, and talk to her a bunch about this, and like every time it's just she's just like what's gonna happen? It's like it's just chill, it's like just
Yeah.
that like it's like a very helpful like check for me where I'm like, yeah, what is gonna happen? Nothing. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine.
Sometimes we need to just zoom out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not serious. It's like, yeah,
It's not that
I
deep.
make commercials. I don't save anyone's life. In fact, I'm probably making their lives worse by selling them crap they don't need. So it's like, yes, it's a very unserious industry.
Yeah, well,
So,
I'm currently watching Mad Men,
oh,
so
all right,
I
awesome.
love that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
kind of loving it. But so let's talk about this frame and flow event you have coming up at the Salt City Market on September 25th. What is this event? Who's it for? And what inspired you to create it?
awesome. I mean, I'll start with the inspiration. The inspiration is just There's a selfish inspiration and a selfless inspiration. The selfish is like, I want to be around more creative people. I recently moved into the Delavan Center. That's where my studio is now. That was like
Nice.
such an upgrade creatively, just to be around that like energy of
Yeah.
other creatives. But I want more of that. Like I want to be around people, and like there are some really great creative meetups locally. Syracuse Sync is a semi-annual event. Stay Fresh Summit occurred last year. That was like a very inspiring event as well. And so like part of it is just like you go to events like that and you're like, oh,
Yeah, we
I'm
need
addicted
more.
to it. Like I want
Yeah.
more. But then for me, I think this like on that selfish side of it, it's like to I want it to be with creatives that do what I do as well. I think when you're looking at like a more generalized like creative event, you like there's an element where you have to kind of like translate it into your like industry. You're like, oh yeah, I get that, but it's like apply it to video instead of a poster or something like that. Also, like I guess this is more like
So
the
this is for motion
so it's
designers,
heavily for, I
editors.
would say, post production
Okay.
professionals.
That makes
That
sense.
said, I'm like totally like I would love everyone to come. I've gotten a ton out of creative like summits that are not focused on like my craft. So like if you're a graphic designer, I think you should come too.
Mhm.
But generally, I think the idea is that I didn't see, it's like anything. It's like we're just reinventing the wheel, but like looking to put our spin on it. So this is pointed more at post production professionals. So that's video editors, videographers, DPs, stuff like that. DP, director of photography, like people who are behind the camera, and then like yeah, animators, motion graphics professionals. The other thing I've realized is like locally, there's a huge amount of these people locally that I've networked, has like become friends with and know. And it's like, hey, do you know my friend does this as well? And like I keep finding like there's some guys locally that like work for major brands as well, and like you wouldn't know it because they're just like we're in CNY, so it's like we just go about our lives. But like there's
There's some
lot of
talent
talent,
here.
a lot
Oh,
of talent in the area.
absolutely.
Um,
And it's truly like events like the one you're creating is like this is what we're all about.
mhm,
This is why I created the CNY Women's Summit, right? It was a
yeah,
selfish but also selfless reason, but it's like truly we need platforms
yes,
like this so that the next generation can see, oh my gosh, all these cool people
yeah,
doing cool things live right here in central New
yeah.
York. Who says I can't build the life
Well,
I want here, right?
I mean, that's how you build like an industry as well. It's like
Yeah.
if and I would categorize this in that more of a selfish category. It's like if I want to work with more talented people, like if I want to work with talented people more often, I should phrase it that way. It's like, well, we need to foster the talent in the area. So
Absolutely.
the format of this meetup is like a like fun kind of like speed dating networking situation, so that it's um I find again with creatives kind of what we're talking about is like if I can kind of take the scariness out of this networking idea, then it's like, oh yeah, no, that sounds
You
fun,
all
I'll
you
do
need to
that.
do is give people a plan and tell them what to do.
Exactly.
That's all they want. They just
Right.
wanna be told what to do. That takes the awkwardness
Yeah, it
out of
takes that
it.
like blind or
Yeah. It takes
actually this is more of like a blind dating, like speed dating thing. I've done this before, and it's like, yeah, it's like here's the format. You don't have to think about it. You just talk about who you are, and it's like you don't have this like weird like approaching someone at a bar kind of thing.
takes like the power dynamic out of
For
things.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So the format of the conference or of the summit, I guess, is the reason why it's called Frame and Flow is there's going to be two speakers that the event is kind of centered around. One is showing how they've created a style frame, and what that kind of encompasses is like any sort of technical tutorial, just a tip and trick professionally with what we do, that they could teach the group of like, oh, here's how you would do this. So that's the frame. It's like the style frame aspect. The flow is the workflow. And so then there will be another speaker that is talking about like the business side of it. It's like, how do I stay booked? How do I
Mhm.
reach out to cold email somebody or whatever? And then like where we're kind of breaking up those two like the headliners, I guess, is with these like little networking, like, okay, now we're doing a network speed dating thing, and now we're gonna um, group off into groups of, hopefully it's groups of 10, hopefully I have enough people, but we're gonna group off and like, here's the topic. It's gonna be AI. Talk about that, So
Yeah.
it's like, so the whole thing is like is gonna be very organized around that like you don't have to think about what you're going to say to people. You just have to show up and be yourself. And then like some ancillary things is like, there's some opportunities to share your reel with the other creatives in the area. Cause I think
Nice.
that's a big,
Feedback is huge.
yeah, it's
That would
both
be
for the
super
feedback.
valuable.
Yes. The feedback. And it's also like
Exposure.
the exposure to, like, I've worked with a lot of guys locally that are like, they're like, you have that local connection. So
Mhm.
knowing that like, oh, actually, my friend Vic would be really good for this job. He's local. We get coffee all the time. It's like, it's honestly, it's been like taking these little like, oh, I'll meet this person for coffee. I'll meet this person for coffee. And I'm like, hey, have you guys met? You guys should meet. And so that's kind of the idea behind the whole, like, that's where the
Yeah.
idea kind of came
No,
from.
I love that you're going to be sharing, diving into the creative process side, but also, the business side and
Mhm.
giving people more tactical
Yeah.
like takeaways that they can use and apply to their own businesses.
Yeah.
That I think that this event is going to make a huge difference for whoever attends. How can people sign up or learn more? Like where are they going to find you guys for that?
So for that, we're at frameandflow.com. That's all
Cool.
spelled out, frameandflow.com.
And it's
Um,
going to be a quarterly meetup,
that's
right?
the goal. The
That's
goal
the
is quarter.
goal?
This is the initial kickoff. Yeah, we found the venue at Salt City Market. I think we're looking for like the perfect kind of balance of like AV and
Mhm.
like communal space. So like that'll allow us to like have presenters, put their if we're explaining like workflow stuff, you need to see
Absolutely.
someone's screen. So
Yeah, the
yeah,
com
so
the
the
community room there, is that
yeah,
where you guys gonna be?
exactly.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
and then I think with that venue as well, that allows us to also kind of throw a mixer element into it, and like hopefully, like when people are done, when the event is over, it encourages them to like, if they drink, grab a drink at the bar or
Yep.
grab a coffee and just like keep the conversation going. So,
That's a
it's
great
yes
spot.
to try to get the community incubated in a way that'll get us that'll like rise all ships.
Yeah,
So
and I love hosting events like this at community
yeah.
like, local
Oh,
community
right, and just,
spots,
like,
just
helping out the local business, exactly.
that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And is there a cost to attend?
Yeah, we're working out the cost right now. I think, I
Okay.
the my intention is for it to be
Probably
free,
by the
so
time this
I will
comes
say
out,
if
we'll figure that out.
well, I will say if you're listening to if you wanna come for free, just tell me and you could come for free. I'm the only advice I've been given on cost is, like, if you put a price on it, it will encourage people to not flake at the last minute, but my intention has always been for this to be a free event. So it's yes, look at the price when this comes out, and if it's too much, just shoot me an email and I will give you a free ticket. So
I love that. You're so sweet, Jeremy. Jeremy, if there was one piece of advice you could leave creatives or freelancers or anyone in your realm with today, what would it be?
it would be trust yourself, trust your voice artistically, trust your abilities, trust that you will figure it out. Everything feels much more daunting when we've never done it, but like, man,
I
another
like that.
another mantra. This is a Tim Rogers. I was born stupid, but I will not die hungry. So
Oh,
that's
I love that. Oh my gosh. No, I love that. Trust yourself is such an important message. And odds are, if you're listening to this podcast, you are going to have to do something, whether in your business or in your life, that you've never done before.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm a firm believer that you would not have the opportunity if you were not capable of it.
Yeah,
So just trust. It's
yeah,
all going to work out.
yeah.
It always
Everything's gonna be
does.
fine.
And
Exactly.
remember, we're not saving lives, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Unless
yeah.
you are
Unless
saving
you are,
lives.
but
That's
still,
different.
definitely trust yourself if you're
And
saving
thanks
lives.
for tuning into the pod. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining me
Yeah,
today. This was an awesome
thank you
conversation.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been listening since the beginning, I do not take it for granted. When I started this podcast, I honestly didn't know where it would go. I just knew that I wanted to have real conversations with people doing meaningful work right here in Central New York. 2 years in, this still feels like a dream, but I also know that we are just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join the 32% of people who tune into the show regularly and follow us on this app. And here's my promise to you: I'll keep showing up with my whole heart. I'll keep inviting guests who inspire me and asking the questions that I know matter most to people like us, people building something right here in CNY. So thank you for being a part of this.